This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on External Affairs Minister's visit to USA for strong bilateral ties. The participants are Anil Wadhwa, former diplomat, and Nilova Roy Chaudhary, journalist.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is on a 5-day visit to the United States. This is his first visit there since India assumed a place at the United Nations Security Council, and it is also his first visit there since the Biden administration took charge in Washington. AM Jaishankar is in New York today, where at the top of his agenda is a meeting with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. India, which has just begun a new 2-year term at the UNSC, will be focused on the issues which it intends to highlight during this tenure, particularly when it assumes the rotating presidency of the UNSC later this year, I think around August. Ambassador Wadhwa, what would those issues be on which India would like to focus at the United Nations Security Council? And India has been very active on all the UN panels which it chairs and heads, including the ones related to counterterrorism. So what is the focus at the UN?
There are a number of issues on the UN agenda which are extremely important, which will be coming up in particular when India is in the chair of the United Nations Security Council. Top of the list, of course, is the issue of Afghanistan, US withdrawal from Afghanistan, which would happen around the same time. And as you rightly mentioned, India has been very much involved in the committees which are related to fighting terrorism and tables its own resolution every year in the United Nations. So External Affairs Minister Jaishankar would certainly be touching base with the UN Secretary General on the way forward as far as Afghanistan is concerned, how to build consensus in case the situation goes wrong in the country. And at the same time, there are 2 or 3 other burning issues before the UN as far as India is concerned. One is the issue of climate change, in which Secretary General Guterres is also very much interested in pushing the agenda forward. The expectations that are there from India in this regard. Third issue is about the ongoing Israel-Palestine issue. Now, of course, for the time being, we have a temporary lull as far as this fighting is concerned, and the issue is not so active at the moment, but can flare up at any time, especially given the volatile situation within the countries concerned because of the instability in governmental formation in Israel and also the lack of consensus within the Palestinians on its own leadership and elections. And fourthly, of course, is the whole issue about the various problems which can come up within the United Nations from time to time, dormant disputes, the COVID situation, how the UN plans to handle that, and how it should be handled within the WHO, because that's again a very difficult area to handle, where the WHO is going to hold a very important meeting in the next few days, early next month, in fact, on the way forward with regard to the origins of the COVID-19. So that's again politically a very charged subject in which countries would be taking sides. And finally, of course, is the whole reform of the UN system and the WTO in particular, where India needs to play a very important role. So all this would be an extremely important feeler kind of visit. As far as India is concerned, as far as the External Affairs Minister is concerned, he's already taken a review of the situation as far as India's positions are concerned with our officers in the permanent mission of India. So going forward, I think that will help India firm up its positions in the multilateral arena.
But Anil, realistically, the fact that the UN Security Council couldn't even agree on the wording of, say, asking for a ceasefire on the Israel-Palestinian issue, how realistic is it to see a general consensus being formed to carry a lot of these very crucial items on the agenda? I mean, Afghanistan is something that affects us all very, very seriously. Climate change, of course, UN reform. So what is your sense? What kind of progress or movement forward do you think there might be?
You are right in pointing out the UN is passing through a very difficult phase, and there is a sort of impasse within the permanent 5 of the UN Security Council at the moment, where they don't seem to see eye to eye on most of the issues. And therefore, it is then left to individual countries with some amount of influence or regional countries to play their own role in bringing about solutions to different problems. Ultimately, what does happen is that based on the evolving consensus, sometimes all countries of the UN Security Council then go along with that consensus. And this is exactly what has happened third time around on the resolution on the Israeli-Palestinian issue. As you know, it was very difficult to get that resolution through because of the different interests involved, especially the United States, which did not want to see a resolution which was condemning Israel for the most part. And therefore, when after the ceasefire had been brokered, it was only then that we could get a consensus resolution passed the UN Security Council. So I think today UN is one step behind, but at the same time, it's the only forum where consensus can evolve, discussions can take place, and feelings can be judged, on the basis of which then some solutions can be formulated based on the important players who are interested in that subject.
Dr. Jaishankar then travels tomorrow or later tonight to Washington, where apart from his important meeting with the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he is also scheduled to meet with other cabinet ministers and senior officials of the new administration who deal with the bilateral relationship. I'm curious, among these, is it possible that he would also perhaps call on either the Vice President or the President of the United States? Could that be something that happens?
Well, it's very rarely that happens unless the issue is very pressing. So one should not expect that during this visit, this kind of call-ons will happen. But you never know, because in the past we've had occasions when the US presidents have dropped by casually to shake hands with the visiting foreign ministers, especially when the trip is important or when subject matter is important. So I would not rule that out, but we should not have too many expectations of those kind of high-level call-ons, given the fact that these are not normal, as far as diplomatic relations are concerned. But as far as the counterparts are concerned, you rightly mentioned, I think the agenda is very important this time. As far as India is concerned, it's an issue which relates to a huge population which is grappling with the situation back home of the second wave of the pandemic, in which India would like to have more raw material procured from the United States, and therefore some relaxations which will be required in the United States laws in order to procure those raw materials so that enough vaccine can be manufactured on time, so that India can grapple with this situation back home in an able manner. And I think that's recognized by the United States. So some amount of preliminary work has already been done, and that's why this visit assumes that much more importance to firm up the future arrangements. And I know for sure that the Indian industry has got a lot of expectations as well from this visit on that score.
So vaccines are likely to be front and center of the kinds of meetings that he has. But there was also this report about a lot of Republican, particularly congressmen, writing into the president and saying that while you're more than willing to give vaccines, actual doses of the vaccine, sharing intellectual property is something on which there are a lot of second thoughts happening, and this entire process is getting further delayed because of that. The United States administration has, in effect, given the go-ahead for sharing of the intellectual properties for the vaccine preparations. But that coming into effect is not looking like happening in a hurry, and that's delaying the process here. So what then is the option, do you think? Buying vaccines, or how do you think External Affairs Minister will go about this?
So you're right. In terms of waivers of intellectual property, etc., these are long-term issues, and we know that as far as the TRIPS issue is concerned, of course, this issue will come up in the WHO as well, and then later on in the WTO, where there will be prolonged negotiations because there's no consensus as yet, despite the fact there are about 60 odd countries who have moved a resolution in this respect, and they have a support of another 40, a clear support. But there are important countries which are holdouts, and they are influenced, of course, by the lobbies of the chemical and pharmaceutical industry. At the earliest that could happen would be perhaps 6 to 8 months' time. But meanwhile, two issues are more important. One is, of course, the relaxation of U.S. laws, which allows for raw material imports into India and equipment into India, which allows India to manufacture its own vaccine. And after all, India has its own vaccines, and it can scale that up, provided there is enough support which which is provided. Second issue is that in the Quad context, the United States is an able partner which has already committed itself to ramping up the production of vaccine in India. And with Japanese investment and Australian distribution, this can be a reality for the Indo-Pacific region. So keeping that in mind, I think that commitment needs to be followed through, and India should be made to manufacture these vaccines at the fastest possible pace, which it can be allowed to do so. And thirdly, of course, is the issue of making sure that the collaborations between US vaccine makers and Indian vaccine makers proceeds faster. Johnson & Johnson, as we know, is the next vaccine which will be produced in India. But we also have the pending collaborations between two other US vaccines and India, and that is stuck on some details about liabilities. So that is an issue to be hammered out as well. So in all this, if there is a push by the US administration, it would help India, it would help the region, and I'm sure it will help the whole world in the process.
At this point, the Quad route perhaps looks the most efficacious and perhaps the fastest way in which this actually might work, because a commitment was already given by all the leaders of the four countries to ramp up productions in India so that vaccinations could be given out to Southeast Asia and so on. So that route perhaps could be one of the more effective ways, immediately sort of getting assistance and immediately managing to ramp up domestic production. And External Affairs Minister is also scheduled to have these two interactions with business forums on both economic issues as well as COVID-related cooperation. So will these do the issue of supply chains and IPRs again, or is it something different?
As far as the business meeting is concerned, we cannot expect that issue of IPRs would be discussed there. But I think the broad contours about who is interested in collaboration and whom they would like to collaborate with and what conditions and terms, etc., can be made clear so that then the Indian industry can be incentivized to approach their counterparts, in the United States on that basis. So that cuts short the time which is taken for understanding each other. And that's why these meetings become that much more important.
And it'll be External Affairs Minister is a very, very senior level at which this is being sort of pushed. I'm sure India's ambassador to the United States has also been doing his level of pushing to the best that he can. Why do you think External Affairs Minister had to travel to the United States in the midst of this pandemic to actually try and push things through? I mean, what was the imperative there?
It's not just the optics of it, but also the feel of what happens when you are physically present in a place, which makes the interaction much more important. And of course, the United States has been preparing the ground. He's been meeting companies over the past many weeks, in fact. And so things have come to a point where there are certain issues which need to be clarified at the level of the foreign minister. And he has a mandate from the industry as well now, as far as I can see, to talk on their behalf and to put forward their concerns and at the same time to clarify certain issues. And that then would help the industry counterparts to get in touch with each other and follow through easily.
So essentially a kind of a political push being required at this point to working out the nitty-gritty details largely, which have probably already moved ahead to some considerable extent.
And I think this is an issue which requires not just industry interaction, but also government-to-government interaction, where there are certain issues which can only be solved at the governmental level. For example, relaxation in US laws cannot be done by industry themselves. I mean, they would then throw up their hands and say, well, we are bound by this law. And therefore, the presence of the minister on the ground there would be very helpful in taking these issues up.
And so among the people then that he would likely meet is the U.S. trade representative. Do you think that's among the cabinet ministers he's likely to be then meeting? Would that be a realistic assumption?
That would be a realistic expectation. And also don't forget that we've been talking about a limited early harvest, whatever you might call it, agreement with the United States on certain items of trade. And that could again be reiterated during that meeting.
Thank you so very much, Ambassador Wadhwa.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on External Affairs Minister's visit to USA for strong bilateral ties. The participants were Anil Wadhwa, former diplomat, and Nilova Roy Chaudhary, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our website newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.